You want to learn how to negotiate like a pro.
I need a car in 60 seconds or she dies.
You're about to learn from one of the world's best former FBI hostage negotiators.
Instead of getting people to say yes to advance your agenda, get them to say no. For example, instead of, have you got a few minutes to talk, say it's now bad time to talk.
For the first time ever, I'm going to take you back to episode 100 with negotiation master
Chris Voss.
Chris Voss, as he unpacks real-world skills and tactics you can use as a property investor to help you potentially secure better deals in property.
Just because you're embarrassed doesn't mean you did a bad job. And if you can become immune to embarrassment, what you can achieve is just about limitless.
Mastering the skill of negotiation in property can be the difference between building a portfolio and not.
Point to the elephant in the room. Nobody ever made the elephant in the room go away by denying that it was there. By denying it was there, made it worse. Yeah, now here's the next move, and you got to follow these directions exactly as I'm offering them. Don't do it any differently. First part is,
if you've ever wanted to sharpen the skill of negotiation, but don't know where to start, don't know who to talk to, and don't know which expert in this field to really follow, you are absolutely going to enjoy this episode. This is the first time we have ever re-edited and re-aired an episode because I actually only found this the other day. I thought it was lost footage forever, and it was before we started our YouTube channel. So for everyone that's only just found us on YouTube, my name's Todd Sloan. This is the Pizza and Property Podcast, and this episode is powered by InvestorKit, Property Strats, and Inside 2 Buyers Agency. And I hope not only do you guys enjoy this episode, but you get a kick out of me playing 60 seconds or she dies. You'll know it when you see it. But right now, let's get straight into the chat with Chris Voss. Chris Voss, we're in front of each other, mate. I'm a bit excited. How you going?
This is great. I'm good. Life is treating me really well right now. I'm on your show. I must be doing well.
Mate, you just had some good news on a few different areas in life. Sounds like you're kicking some amazing goals in every direction. I'm genuinely excited to talk to you. Like, I love talking to all the guests we have on our show, but I'm just going to hope I don't fanboy out a little bit here. So if you don't mind, out of respect for your time, Chris, can we just jump straight into the questions and kick it off? Is that cool?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Most of the people listening to this right now, they're going to want to learn some negotiation tips on either like purchasing a property, any kind of services. But can we just jump into a few simple, just to start off with, a few simple techniques that everyday Aussies can use when they're in negotiations?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Aussies tend to be so smart. You guys like complicated things, like physicists question E equal MC squared. You know, I don't know if it'll be simple because you guys are so smart, but I'll go for it. Yeah.
All right. So what would be the best place to start then? Probably not E equals MC squared.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know, and I've been trying to figure out how I could turn that into a negotiation empathy type thing, and I haven't been able to figure it out yet. So anyway,
like using it as like tactical empathy.
I would solicit any of your listeners, if you could come up with a tactical empathy lettering equation for E equals MC squared, that'd be a great marketing tool. We'd use that. But in the interim,
okay,
the simplest thing that people could do is to stop trying to get people to say yes. Now,
okay.
The shortcut for that is to just switch your yes questions to no questions. Now, that's a good exercise to begin with because the habit of getting yes is so ingrained in everybody globally that if you're over the age of 24, changing a habit is difficult and really good for your brain. You got something called neuroplasticity. Everybody does if you're a human being, which starts to go dormant at about your mid-20s. Which means it doesn't go away. Your ability to learn, it's still there. You can wake it back up. And one of the ways that you wake it back up is changing habits because it's awkward. It's difficult. If it's awkward and if it's difficult, by definition, that means you're impacting your neuroplasticity. So a real good one to start off with is a simple ingrained habit. Instead of getting people to say yes to advance your agenda, get them to say no. For example, instead of, have you got a few minutes to talk, say it's now bad time to talk.
Yeah, okay.
Start all your phone conversations like that, just to see if this aspect of the Black Swan method works. Small stakes practice for high stakes results. Just start doing this in every one of your phone calls. If you say, have you got a few minutes to talk, switch it to is now a bad time to talk. See what happens. Learn the first simple habit of the Black Swan method. And then also you'll be delighted at the difference in responses you'll get. And ideally, that'll encourage you to learn some more.
And is this because people feel more comfortable saying no than they do yes? Like, what's the thought process behind it?
That's a really big part of it. The real issue on any one of these communication techniques is not what does it feel like for you to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, what does it feel like for the other person to say it? Empathy is really about the other person. It's not about you.
Yeah, okay.
You hate hearing no, you love hearing yes. However, it's not about you. You love saying no and you're leery of saying yes. When you say no, you feel like you protected yourself. You feel safe. When you say yes, you think, what did I just let myself in for? You feel anxious. Anxiety is a distraction. If you feel safe, you could focus. It feels good to say no. And if you have additional issues, like somebody calls you on the phone and says to you, it's now a bad time to talk, and it is, you're going to say, well, it is. And here's when a good time to talk is. People suggest solutions faster after they've said no than they say after they said yes. Because after you said yes, if you suggest a solution, you feel like you've made an additional commitment. And then the anxiety continues to ratchet up. I mean, there's kind of like a downward spiral of anxiety that gets triggered over yes. So just try the opposite, see what happens.
Well, speaking of the anxiety things then, let's say someone's in a bit of a negotiation that's getting tense. Okay. And it feels like it's kind of hanging by a thread. What are some tips that you've got for people to try and keep your counterpart on side, but not just completely give in if things are getting a little bit, not hostile, but you know what I mean? Just that little bit tense.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of different mechanisms to fix this. One real good one is just to take a deep breath. I don't know how popular the Clubhouse social media app has gotten in Australia. It's had a pretty good run in the United States. Evidently, it's really popular in India right now. But anyway, I was on Clubhouse probably 2 or 3 months ago. Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank Barb was on talking about some stuff. And she said, here's a phrase that I have never regretted saying. Now, Barb is a deal maker, an accomplished person, phenomenal human being. And I thought, I have to know what she's willing to say. I've never regretted saying this. Mm-hmm. What it was give me a little while to think about it. Take a deep breath, take a step back. If things are tense in your negotiations, a real good move is just to take a time out, step back, give yourself on the other side an opportunity to get your balance back. The 3/4 of your amygdala, which houses negative emotions, probably banging pretty hard right now, which is obscuring your thinking. Simplest move is just say, look, give me a little while to think about this, however long it takes. Taking a step back is always a good move. According to Barbara Corcoran, and what's the phrase? Never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade places with. Mm-hmm. I'd take Barbara's success. I'd take her money. Plus, if you think about where she got successful at, you should be doubly impressed by her. She got successful in the real estate and construction industry in New York City like 20 years ago. Like, if it's tough now, imagine how tough it was 20 years ago. So Barbara's a successful person that I'd take advice from.
That's the second time now that you've mentioned, like, first of all, it's neuroplasticity. Then we're talking about the amygdala. Like, for you, does a lot of this come back to like neuroscience and do you lean on,
heavy duty leaning on neuroscience. We still kind of pay attention to psychology a little bit. Psychology was the best that we could do about how people think before we could actually look in their brains and start to sample the chemicals, which is really kind of only happening about the last 10 years. There's a device called fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, where you can watch the electrical activity in the brain while it's happening. Psychologists didn't have the opportunity to do that. They were trying to guess what was going on based on what somebody told them. Essentially, like, this is like trying to figure out what's going on in a conversation in the next room when you can only hear the words, but you can't see, which gives you context. And so sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But neuroscience is a hard science. And there's some really good stuff there. And started looking at it about the time the book Never Split the Difference came out back in 2016. And have just been fascinated. And the neuroscience has explained so much of what we came to learn from practice and hostage negotiation and now business negotiation to be how people are really reacting.
Yeah, okay.
So very much into neuroscience.
You don't feel that what you've done now as an individual and with the company as well, like, could have actually progressed as far as what it has without those kinds of findings and studies?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think we'd still be as good as we are. We have a relentless desire to continue to improve the Black Swan method. Mm-hmm. It's better now than it was a year ago. Now, in our explanation of it, like, I read more than anybody else on the team. I don't necessarily push our thinking forward the same way my son Brandon does, who negotiates more than I do, or the same way Derek Gaunt does, who's on our team, who coaches more than I do. I mean, these guys are applying it daily. And our data is really drawn from the actual application and the success rates. Now, I read more, I listen to more, I'm listening to Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist out of Stanford. Like I'm picking up all this information. And so then when we're explaining or trying to help people understand the mechanisms even better of why it's working, some people want to know the mechanism and they find it much more helpful to know that.
Yeah. So it sounds like either way, you're the kind of company or you're the kind of person really by the sounds of it that you're just going to keep bettering anyway. Whether you didn't find that, you probably would have found something else and you would have just kind of run with it to keep improving.
Yeah. Several great thinkers have said effectively the only sustainable competitive advantage is to learn faster than your competition. And we're constantly pushing it forward.
Well, and given your background as well, I think this is one of the coolest things in your book as well. That's one of the things that really stood out to me. But I mean, most of the people listening to this right now, they're not going to be negotiating a life or death situation. It's as simple as that. But for the financial equivalent, sometimes buying a property can feel like that life or death situation almost.
Exactly.
Using your experience as a former FBI hostage negotiator, what are 3 sort of really big tips you can give to someone to keep feeling calm and cool in such a tense and full-on situation?
Well, the one thing that the mechanism that we used all the time is hostage negotiators to keep cool, which we teach people in business, is what's become sort of the famous late night FM DJ voice. Yeah. Which is a downward inflecting voice. Okay. Now, the downward inflecting voice has a neuroscience reaction. When you hear that voice, neurochemicals get triggered in your brain that calm you. It's an automatic response. You don't choose to calm down. A neurochemical process starts calming you down. Now, you can fight that if you want, but you can't stop me from starting the process. One of the things that I find hysterical is when I realize, we're teaching a black swan method in business then and now. I ask people, what's the biggest difference between hostage negotiators and business negotiators? Yeah. Business negotiators get into shouting matches more than hostage negotiators do. Now, think about that. We're talking to terrorists. We're talking to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban. Yeah. And we have calmer negotiations than business people do. How does that happen? Well, it happens because of the late night FM DJ voice. Now, the crazy thing about that is it also calms you down when you use it. Like if I find my buttons getting pushed by somebody from the other side, and what pushes my buttons? Liars push my buttons. So as soon as I think you're hustling me, you're conning me, you're lying to me, I'm probably going to start getting mad. And so I'll switch into the late night FM DJ voice to calm me down, because using it calms me down, and hearing it, because I'm going to hear me. When my voice goes out of my mouth, it goes around the room and it comes in my ears. So it helps to calm me down simultaneously. So that's one of the things that tense. If I have to, I'll go into that voice just to give myself a break.
Okay, so let's say we've got someone there. They're about to buy a property. Like the Australian real estate market right now is on fire. Okay, it's hot everywhere. So if they're against multiple offers, they're negotiating with an agent. Slow things down a bit. Calm FM DJ voice. So it's to calm them and to also try and make sure you're calming your counterpart as well. Is there anything else that they can do to really start, I suppose, feeling like they're taking more control of that? Or is that pretty much the crux of where they need to be?
Yeah, now here's the next move, and you got to follow these directions exactly as I'm offering them. Don't add anything. Don't do it any differently.
Okay, I'm going to write this down.
Articulate their fears. Now, what I didn't say was, I didn't say to deny their fears. What happens most of the time is everybody's got a pretty good emotional intelligence, sort of gut instinct intuition. There's also a neuroscience explanation for that. It's not magic. Your gut instinct is really accurate because of a supercomputer between your ears. It's called your subconscious that processes more data now than any computer known to man, which is why, as a side note, I have no fear of artificial intelligence whatsoever, because the brain is such a phenomenal computing device. And your gut instinct picks that up. So what you do wrong when your gut instinct picks up something negative, you probably, especially in a real estate transaction, you probably might want to say something like, I don't want you to think I'm trying to take advantage of you. Now, that's a denial of their fear, not an articulation of their fear. So first part is to articulate their fears, to say, probably seems like I'm trying to take advantage of you. Now, the other thing, when I said do this as directed, I didn't say explain why that's not true. When you say it probably feels like I'm trying to take advantage of you, then you have to shut up. You have to stop talking. You have to shut the front door, as we say. That's where you stop. Your gut instinct is going to say, but here's why this isn't true. if you can feel the word but generating somewhere inside your brain, your mind, your body, your spirit, trying to get out of your mouth.
Yeah.
That's a sign from the universe that it's time to shut up.
I like that. Okay. So we're calm, we're cool, FM DJ voice. And then it's about trusting that subconscious to really feel like, what is this person actually fearing right now, and articulate it. Like just really jump out there. Don't be afraid to point to the elephant.
You know what? Perfect. That's exactly it. Point to the elephant in the room. Nobody ever made the elephant in the room go away by denying that it was there. Okay. And they always found out that by denying it was there made it worse. So the default move is to just pretend like it's not there.
Yeah.
And as human beings, we go like, okay, so if I pretend like it's not there, it's not as bad as if I say it ain't there.
Yep.
Which makes it really counterintuitive to say, but wait a minute, what if I point out that it's there? And that's one of the things where actually the neuroscience data is strong. I've seen it done. This experiment's been done several times, duplicated the same way. The first time I found out about it was in a book called The Upward Spiral. They put people in fMRIs. They show them a picture that makes them think a negative thought. I don't know what the pictures were. The pictures could have been a puppy in the rain, baby seal in the Antarctic, if they have them in the Antarctic. I don't know. An old lady.
Something bad.
Who's hungry. Something. They show people the picture, and then the portions of the amygdala that neuroscience has previously identified as where negative emotions are amplified. There's specific areas. We, humans, neuroscientists know those areas. Exactly. Show them the picture, and the designated areas of the amygdala light up. Electrical activity. Negative thoughts. Then they simply asked the people to identify what they were feeling, just to try. They didn't have to identify it exactly, accurately. They could have used any one of a million different synonyms, but the mere act of identification or labeling, every single time somebody did that, the electrical activity in the negative part of the amygdala diminished. Every time, not half the time, not a third of the time, not 90% of the time, all the time.
Why isn't this more widely known? Like this
and then there's one more fine point I want to put on this too, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
The degree of impact varied by person. So maybe the electrical activity diminished a little with the identification. Maybe it diminished a lot. When we're coaching people to apply this robustly in something in the Black Swan method, we call the accusations audit, which is like bang, bang. You probably think I'm trying to cheat you. You probably think that I'm a swindler. You probably think I'm a hustler. You probably think I'm a con artist. Throwing all those out in succession is something we call an accusations audit. Sometimes when people do one or more of those negative identifications, they get met with silence. Somebody stares at them and they say, well, it didn't work. They didn't react. And we say, yes, it worked. You didn't go far enough. So the lack of response from the other side says you're on the right track, but you don't feel that because you're not getting any positive reinforcement.
Right. So the response is crucial to really feel that you've actually got there, or you're saying the response isn't crucial because that's a self-gratification thing?
Well, yeah, you got to read the other side. You're trying to read it, gather data with your eyes, if you will. And a lack of response means you're on the right track. If you don't know that no sign is a good sign, in this context, you're going to get a little rattled. You're like, because sometimes when you do the accusations audit, you can see the negativity go away in the other person. I mean, you can watch the electrical activity in somebody's brain is switching. Like they'll blink and they'll shake their head. They'll act like they're being shocked because they kind of are, because the electrical activity is making a massive shift in their brain at the moment.
Yeah, okay. I'm liking this. This is going in a different direction than I thought it would. But I've got a bit of a proposal for you, Chris, which I feel like I could possibly regret, but I wanted to play the name game with you. It's a bit of a silly fun thing that we do on Pizza and Property, and it just pretty much livens things up a little bit partway through the show. But I wanted to do a swap with you if you're up for it, because I heard in your book, I did hear. I listened to it. I didn't read it. And apparently when people are doing your training, you used to play a game called 60 Seconds or She Dies.
We still do. It's not used to. We're still putting people through that obstacle course.
Okay. Well, I remember you saying that most people did kind of terribly at it and it was a little bit embarrassing. So how do you feel about a swap? You run me through 60 Seconds or She Dies. I'll play that with you if you want to play the name game with me.
I'll be happy. We don't even have to do a swap. I'll do whatever you want. But here's one thing I want to put on 60 Seconds or She Dies.
Yeah.
Just because you're embarrassed doesn't mean you did a bad job.
Okay. I feel like you're framing that definitely.
No, but I've never had anybody play the game that didn't at least make good strategic choices. Now, the tactical application of the strategies, which is really where the Black Swan method comes into play, like your strategy's probably on point. You just don't know the best tactic to accomplish it. And that's typically where coaching comes in.
Okay. Well, did you want to play first or do you want to play the name game first? Up to you.
Let's do the name game first.
Okay. So name game first. Okay. So what we're doing is basically 16 true or false questions. We make sure that we actually put these to the person's personality, or I guess personality. Now, I couldn't figure out anything that was negotiation style for yourself. So I just thought, well, going into your history, I thought we'd do something that was a little bit fun. World's dumbest criminals. Now, these 16 questions, some of them I've made up, and some of them are actually true acts of crime. Your job is just to say real or fake. Are you ready to play?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. Armed robber boasts on Facebook about his plans to rob a supermarket when posting a selfie of himself.
Real.
That is real, correct. Next one. Thief robs a cafe but got caught because he did a COVID contact check-in before he robbed the place.
That's so stupid. I'll say real again.
That one is actually fake, but incorrect. Next one. Bank robber in Poland ended up embarrassed after the robber realized the victim was actually his mum and told him off and made him turn himself in.
See, I like stupid stuff. I'm going to say real every time.
Okay, well, that one's actually fake. I made that one up, unfortunately. Next one.
Nice job.
Thank you. Burglar broke into a home, did their dishes, washed his underwear, and then was caught after falling asleep in their bed.
I'm going to say fake on this one. You're going to get me, aren't you?
That one's actually real, unfortunately.
Okay.
Correct. Next
I guess
one.
I need to go opposite gut instinct here, don't I?
Tell me how this one feels then. Man caught robbing a cafe after making himself a cup of tea and leaving it on the counter, leaving his DNA behind.
Robbed the cafe after he made a cup of tea. Well, of course he would have left his DNA. Real.
That is actually fake, unfortunately.
You're killing me here. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do to me? I hate this game.
I'm sorry, Chris. All right, we're about halfway now. So, man being chased by police sought refuge at what turned out to be the lawn of a prison.
Fake.
That is actually real. Oh,
see, I told you I'm going opposite here, right?
Robber that
like, and here's the thing: like, if you guys ever hear about me selling a stock, it's a sign you should buy it.
Where are we? Robber that stole from a liquor store found after he gave his number to the checkout chick because he tried to chat her up before he committed the crime.
Real.
That is real. Correct. Yes. All right. Now we're on it. Now, next one. Man caught robbing a bank after buying a disguise from the costume shop next door.
Fake.
That is fake. Correct. Okay. Woman walks out after designer clothing.
Feeling the pressure.
Woman walks out of designer clothing store wearing $2,000 pants, not knowing she left her wallet and ID in the dressing room.
Real.
That is actually fake, unfortunately. All right, we've got a few left. Afghan Taliban commander gave himself up to try and claim the $100 reward for his own capture.
Fake.
That is actually real, unfortunately. We really are.
That's what I told you, man. I'm going my gut instinct. Bet against me.
Okay, a man running from a robbery jumped the fence into a nudist resort and was instantly captured as he was the only one wearing clothes.
Fake.
That is actually real.
See, I told you, man.
I'm regretting this game now. You're going to take this out of me in a second. I know you are. Father kidnaps his child from school to ransom towards ex-wife. Later finds out he took the wrong child.
Real.
That is real, correct? All right.
I wanted to say fake, and that's why I said real.
Right down the final couple now. Bank manager stole £7 million, left a note in the safe saying, "I owe you £7 million," but was later captured because he actually signed the note.
Real.
That is real, correct. All right, we're turning it around. No, that's good. That's no damn it. You got this one real.
I know.
Oh, that's right. We're going backwards. Okay. All right, let's wrap this one up here.
This is the last one to put me out of my misery, right?
Last one. The dog groomer caught with 12 pounds of cocaine because didn't realize the dog she was grooming was a retired sniffer dog accompanied by a policeman.
Real.
That is actually fake, unfortunately.
I see. I told you.
Oh,
I like it. I like my percentage.
Okay, Chris, that was good fun, mate. And as I say to everyone as well, anyway, it's never about winning or losing with this game. And if it makes you feel any better, you still don't actually have the lowest score. The best lowest score has actually been 2. So
it's not about winning or losing. It's about getting embarrassed and getting over it.
Well, kind of. And reset. I'm a big Sean Anker fan. So it's about resetting.
Yeah.
Like your body works better, your mind works better when you're happy. So the whole idea of it is to reset things.
Emotion that scares us the most is embarrassment. And we stopped doing so many things that we should do because we're concerned that we're going to be embarrassed or that we've been embarrassed similarly in the past. Being wrong is actually a phenomenally smart thing to do in your interactions because the kind of informational flow triggers from the other side. But a lot of people are afraid to be wrong at all or intentionally because they're going to be embarrassed. The phrase, I would die of embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an accident, that's a phrase. So, embarrassment there's just a searing in our brain from embarrassment. When I was teaching at Georgetown and at USC, Georgetown, Washington, D.C., University of Southern California, Los Angeles, I had some tough rules, but I was fair, which means the rules apply to everybody. And I wanted the people to be in fear of being late to class because you're hurting everybody when you're late. You walk in late, you're disruptive. Your reason for being late is probably not good. So if you walked into my class late, I was probably going to say something to you. And I'm a little direct, I'm a little blunt. And I'm not proud of the effect it had on the person. There was a net gain for the class. There were several students that if I could remove that wound now, I would, because they have never gotten over being embarrassed. They got embarrassed. They sat in a class boiling the entire class, which meant they got no learning out of that session. And, it was an emotional scar that I'm sure that to some degree they're carrying today. And if I could reach in there and repair and remove that, I actually never thought of a more effective tactic for the group as a whole, because the classes, there were a few things that I did and nobody ever got caught off guard by anything. Like I said, look, you're late, you're going to get embarrassed. You text, you're going to get embarrassed. I'm here to tell you, and I would say it to people 4, 5, 6 times. I'd put it in the syllabus that they were going to regret it. And any time that I didn't back up what was going to happen when people broke those rules, then a class would slowly lose focus and concentration to the point where, look, I am not happy about what I did to these people, but number one, you were all warned. And number two, the entire quality experience for everybody was impacted negatively by me not sticking to the rules as I set them out. So, as a side note, I know embarrassment is horrible. One of the best things you could do for yourself is to do little things that embarrass you on a regular basis. Give yourself an antidote, vaccinate yourself. I wish I could pronounce the term. One of the books that I'm reading right now that is really interesting is Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who also sort of inspired the choice of the black swan for my company. And Taleb talks about historically people have made themselves immune from poison by taking small doses of it. Before medicine was there, how do you keep from getting poisoned? Figure out what the 7 or 8 common poisons are and start taking it in small amounts so that it can't kill you. I would offer that same thing for embarrassment, because embarrassment is holding all human beings on the planet back. And if you can become immune to embarrassment, what you can achieve is probably just about limitless.
I like this. I remember reading that in a study once, apparently saying that adults do learn languages as fast as children, if not faster. But the thing that holds them back is exactly that. They're embarrassed to say it wrong. Where a kid just goes, and they'll just say it, and you look at them, oh, you're not quite right. You got to do it this way. But they don't have any self-doubt in that sense. But I feel like that was also a little bit of a setup for me for Todd, I'm about to embarrass you. Playing the game.
Okay.
But
all right.
Can we play it? Are we allowed to?
We can play. Let's do it. You're going to be the hostage negotiator and I'm going to be the bank robber. Is that how this is going down?
This is your game this time. So your rules. You tell me how it goes.
That's how we do it. That's how we put people through it. All right. So you're going to be the hostage negotiator. I'm the bank robber. I'm a bank robber trapped in a bank.
Okay.
You don't know how many bank robbers there are. You don't know how many hostages we have.
Okay.
All you know is that you're a police hostage negotiator. You and your colleagues have got the bank surrounded. It's going to be your job to call in and talk me out. Now, you have 4 restrictions.
Okay.
There are 4 things that you cannot give me. Hard and fast rules. You cannot give me weapons.
Okay.
You cannot give me transportation.
Okay.
You cannot give me drugs or alcohol. And there's no sort of exchange of hostages allowed. Nobody comes in, people only come out. You see in the movies all the time, the negotiator says, if we let your mom come in, we let people go. Or if I come in, we let people go. People don't go in.
Okay.
People only come out.
And
So those are the
goal?
4 things. Your goal is to get everybody out alive is your principal goal.
Okay.
Get everybody out alive. Everybody lives.
Okay. I feel like I
As
need
opposed to what other possible goals could you have?
I'm not sure. I think I misunderstood you when you said no exchange. I thought you were meaning like I can't take anyone out, but you mean I can't swap anyone, like actually exchange anyone.
There you go. Exactly right.
Gotcha.
Nobody comes in, people only come out.
Yeah. No weapons, no transport, no drugs or alcohol, no exchanges.
Exactly. We'll simulate being over the phone. When you're ready, you might have some questions which you are free to ask.
Yep.
But when you're ready, you'll say ring, ring, and I'll answer.
Okay. I'm going to start the clock on the first ring. Ring, ring.
Anita Carr in 60 seconds or she dies.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Are you really stupid enough to think that I'm going to tell you that? You got 55 seconds.
I just need to talk to who's in charge at the moment. Is this you?
I seem to be on the phone with you, don't I? 50 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you need the card for?
What do you think? 45 seconds.
No, I mean, where do you need it for? We want to make sure that we get everyone.
Do you really think I'm going to tell you that? I'm going to escape from this bank and I'm going to tell you where I'm going. You're dumber than I thought. You got 35 seconds.
Yeah, it sounds like you're not wanting to go back to prison at the moment.
Who said I was ever in prison? 30 seconds.
Oh God, this is so much harder than I thought. I think she's dead, Chris. Shit.
You gave up already?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's 60 seconds now. I'm looking at my stopwatch. I think
now there, number one, let's talk about a couple things here because you made some human mistakes.
Yeah. Because first I want to know who you are when I probably shouldn't have asked that question. Now benefit of hindsight.
Like if you're at a networking session, do you walk up to somebody, hold out your hand and say, who are you?
No.
So why are you doing it here?
I don't know. Okay.
No, but here's the good strategy, but the bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
The good strategy is you would love to get my name to try to establish rapport.
Okay.
But you don't do it like that at a social interaction. The smartest people that are great at social interactions just walk up and say, hi, I'm Todd, and then shut up. Let the other person make the next move. Because it's more important for them to see you as a person.
Right. Okay.
Than it is for you to use their name to manipulate them. You wanted to get my name so you could manipulate me. I can see that coming a mile away.
So I went straight into the take where I should have gone straight into the give and gone, hi, my name's Todd Sloan, and not even who am I speaking with?
Or just, hi, I'm Todd.
Hi, I'm Todd. Okay.
Yeah. We see this in real estate a lot. Like I was talking to a real estate agent in LA a couple of years ago, and he said like, we work so hard to get to know people. I mean, we're really hard to get to know them. And then we have trouble getting emails responded to. We have trouble getting proposals responded to. And I just can't figure it out. And I said, that's exactly why. And he went, what? I said, say that again. He said, we work really hard to get to know them. And I said, yeah, they don't know who you are. Your name on the bottom of a contract.
Yeah. Okay.
You are easy to turn down. If all you are is a name on the bottom of a contract, then I figure you're treating me like a commodity. So I'm going to treat you like one. I'm not going to respond.
Interesting. Okay. So anything else? Well, actually, there's a lot of things I should have done differently, but anything else that's a big standout as well?
Well, another one, first of all, you're looking at the clock, which means you're not focused on me.
Yeah, true.
And you're looking at the clock because you got a pre-established time frame in your brain. Andrew Huberman at Stanford says all human beings think in terms of duration, path, and outcome. DPO, duration, path, and outcome. Where do I want to be? How long is it going to take me to get there? How am I going to get there?
Okay.
All human beings. Now, when I first learned actually international kidnapping negotiations, one of my colleagues stood up in front of me and said, look, wherever you are in the world, there's going to be an expected opening demand. You can find that out from local law enforcement. There's going to be an expected percentage that they're going to settle on. You also find that out from local law enforcement. And there's going to be an amount of time they're going to expect it to take.
Okay.
And now back then, I didn't know about Huberman's duration, path, and outcome. My first reaction was, this is a commodities market. This is a commodities exchange. This is a business transaction. So that was my experience from back then. And now, 2021, I'm listening to Andrew Huberman, and he says, people think in terms of duration, path, and outcome. He doesn't say Americans. He doesn't say Westerners. He doesn't say Australians. He doesn't say English speakers. He said people, Asians, Africans, Latinos, Western Europeans, people, period. Duration, path, and outcome. You got into this thinking focused on duration to the exclusion of actually listening to me.
Yeah. And the more I looked at it, the more everything from my brain just evaporated as well. And that's why I just got to the point where I saw like 57 seconds and it was like, and yeah.
Because you're duration focused, and once taken out of that, your anxiety increases. And I'm doing nothing to diminish your anxiety. I'm actually doing something that's increasing it, even if you weren't paying attention to the clock. with my tone of voice. Now, my tone of voice was very intentional. My tone of voice was mimicking one of the three types: assertives, analysts, accommodators. The world splits evenly into thirds. I'm a natural born assertive.
Okay.
The assertive's voice makes it worse every time, every time. So one of the learned behaviors I had to get into was get out of that voice. Because if I'm myself, and I actually am trying to get to a goal, but that voice is creating anxiety in you because it feels combative, and I'm actually pushing my goal away while I'm trying to get at it. It works against me.
Yeah, I like that. We kind of touched on something there when we're talking about different nationalities. And this is actually a perfect segue to jump into our listener question. So are you ready for me to hit play on that one?
Let's do it.
Beautiful. So our listener question has been sent in from Leslie in Victoria. Hi, Chris. Lovely to meet you. I'm a big fan. I've listened to your book and really enjoyed it. My question is whether you think different nationalities have different negotiation attributes. For example, do Australians have a particular way of negotiating, or are there other different cultural negotiation styles? Love to hear your thoughts.
So we run into culture when we decide that our culture is the way to do it. Like if I'm an American and I go to China, I'm going to run into trouble if I decide that the Chinese got to react because I'm right. You got to react to my negotiation style. First problem with culture. How do I retain my cultural style and get you to give in? Culture is layered over our wiring as human beings. Okay. So if you approach someone as if they're a human being and what's their wiring, the amygdala is part of something I talked about earlier. It's part of the limbic system. The limbic system is very much like the respiratory system. It's affected by both intentional and automatic piloting in our brain. And our emotions are about as much under control as our breathing is. If I ask you to stop breathing, if I say, could you stop breathing? You probably say, yeah. And I say, okay, stop breathing for now. It's about how long you keep your emotions under control.
Okay.
Now, the other thing I love about this analogy is if you have a heart attack, you're an Aussie and you're in Africa, are the African paramedics going to say, oh, he's an Aussie? We don't know how these guys are wired. No, they're going to be able to treat you because your fundamental physiological wiring is common to mankind, a human being. And it's the same way with your limbic system. So if you can, the cultural overlay is above the emotional wiring as a human being, default to what works with the emotional wiring. And yeah, you will occasionally run into an issue with cultural overlay, but you're going to make mistakes anyway. You know, the straw that broke the camel's back didn't break the back of the camel by itself. You are going to make mistakes.
And so
if you're focused on, go ahead.
Sorry, when you say cultural overlay, you're talking about things that could potentially like offend someone, like isn't it? And I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure in some Asian cultures, when you're handing something to someone, you hand them with two hands. You don't just hand it with one hand. That's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, if handing it with one hand is a tip of the iceberg of how you're being oblivious to them, then that wasn't the only thing you did wrong. Like everything you did was wrong, including not listening to them.
Yep. Okay.
But if you're focused on listening to them and paying attention to them, first of all, that's so rare. And we've coached plenty of people that have negotiated with the Chinese. We've coached Chinese. The book is printed in 2 versions of Chinese. It's sold very well in China. You want to tell me that this style doesn't work in Chinese? I say, well, my book's published there and it's sold quite well. So that's my data as to why it works in Chinese. What's your data as to why it doesn't?
Yeah, okay.
I got good data that it works.
Yeah. So on the body language side of things then, because obviously that's a huge part of it. I noticed something in your masterclass. There was one point in particular where you started like playing with your ring and you were talking about something very emotional. And I might be completely reading into this the wrong way, but there was something about the way that you were talking then and fidgeting that just made me connect with you on a different level, that made me think like, well, he's really reaching deep here. And again, I could be wrong, but using that sort of way of looking at things, are there any kind of tips that you've got for our listeners to try and maybe spot those physical attributes and really see the difference between someone that's trying to pull the wool over their eyes versus someone that's genuinely opening up and being real?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's a great question. And so if you're focused on body language, focus on what they look like when they're being real.
Okay.
And just look at that. Now, the short answer to that is if a person tells the truth, if a person is real, they do it in very few ways, basically one way. You know, there aren't a lot of deviations. When people lie, they might lie. You know, I've heard lots of numbers. Somebody who's deceiving you probably has no less than 7 different ways that they deceive. Different lines in movies, like there's 75 ways to lie, and I know them all. Like that's a lot to keep track of. A polygraph is just designed to pick up the one way you tell the truth, if you tell the truth. And then when you come out of it, all I know is they're out of their truth-telling mode. Or if I've got a particular mode that I get into when I'm really digging deep emotionally, yeah, connect that tell. And then what you add in is a communication tool to do a little data confirmation.
Okay.
So, and a real simple one is going to be, regardless of what the tell is, the innocuous, almost universal label, and this is a very specifically designed technique, word for word is selected on purpose. Seems like you were really thinking when you answered that.
And so this is what you say when you feel like someone's telling a lie?
Well, or you gotta tell, but you're not really sure what it is, because you might not have the context. Like, I know in particular one terrorist. If you study the annals of American domestic terrorism, you know this person's name. I'm not going to name her. But when she lied, she looked to the side, just like that.
Okay.
Now, I'm in an interaction, a business negotiation, and the guy answered my question. He looked to the side just like that. Now, my first gut instinct was, well, that's similar way somebody else lied to me. He's lying right now. I was out of context. For him, it was simply a sign of discomfort. I had just inadvertently pushed him to his maximum limit on the dollar amount, and he was unconsciously showing me that I had him at his max. Since I read that out of context based on somebody else as a tell that he was holding back, then I wasn't happy with the price. And I ended up, by the misread of his flinch or his tell or whatever that you want to call it, by my misread because it was out of context, then I ended up hurting the negotiation and the relationship. So shortcutting, looking for tells for body language moves that are indicators is only useful if you find a way to follow up innocuously to give you more data on your read. And the chances that your read will be inaccurate, especially if it's based on another person under another circumstance, it's problematic. You cannot get relationships established based on body language reads alone. You need stuff like what's in the Black Swan method to confirm your data and find out where you are.
Okay, so it's really a first layer. It's not to be relied upon. It's like, okay, here's something that's jumped out. Let's not go, okay, that's a conclusion we're going to jump to. It's now like, right. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper. Correct?
Very good. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Very good.
Okay, cool. Well, look, Chris, I've looked down at the clock and the selfish part of me wants to just keep talking to you all day, but I know you got lots of other stuff to do. So I wanted to go to the last two most important questions. And the second to last one is that action step, Chris. What's an action step for anyone that's listened to this going, I like this Chris Voss guy. I think I could do a bit more negotiation training. This is pretty good. What's something they can jump onto straight away to start sort of furthering their negotiation abilities?
You're going to need to subscribe to our newsletter, our blog.
Okay.
But studying the stuff isn't enough. You got to start trying the stuff out in small stakes applications in your everyday interactions. That's the only way you're going to get to feel the response and feel the data. Start to collect for yourself. A lot of people get a long way with just the book and the newsletter alone. Now, when you're ready to get to really higher levels of skill, we're ready to take you there. But we don't want you to be in over your head at the same time. You got to get your fundamental, the essentials. Some people call it the basics, and that diminishes the importance of the essentials. Get the essentials down. Buy the book. I'm here to tell you it's going to be the best $17 to $24 you ever spent.
Or just enter our 100th episode competition as well, because we'll be giving away a copy of Chris's book in the prize pack. I've read it several times. I've done your masterclass, mate. It's incredible. For anyone sitting on the fence, jump off right now. But I need to actually ask you, Chris Voss, the most important question of the entire podcast. Chris Voss, what is your favorite pizza?
I love pepperoni. I'm a pepperoni fan.
Pepperoni man. Okay. And you getting it anywhere special, or is this like homemade or?
Well, these days it doesn't always square up with my diet. But what is it? There's a wood-fired pizza place, I think called Sam's. It's in a couple of different airports that I roll through occasionally, and LAX, and also I live in Vegas these days. There's one in the Vegas airport. If I'm going to give in and really treat myself, it'll probably be at one of those places.
You get a slice from Sam's. And is it still like New York slice style, or you get the whole pie, or?
Yeah, very close. You get the whole pie, kind of a thin crust.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some good ingredients. There's some ingredients in there that are they taste so good because they're not that good for you. But yeah, I love pizza.
Beautiful. Absolutely love it. Look, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show, mate. It's been an absolute blast for me. I know it has for our listeners as well. But is there any other final words of wisdom that you've got for our audience before we let you go, mate?
Try this stuff out. Your fear of getting it wrong, your fear of being embarrassed, going to hold you back. Try it out. if there's any one thing that you want to try, like the no-oriented question, it's now a bad time to talk. Promise yourself not only that you're going to try it, but you're going to try it 4 times. 4 times. You could do that. You could try any one of our skills 4 times. That'll give you enough experiential data to keep you going. You can do it. You can do this if you just give yourself a chance. 4 times, you'll have fun with it and you'll enjoy it.
I love it. Knowledge without action isn't really knowledge.
Well said.
Thank you so much, Chris. You have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Thad. Thanks a lot.